Yeah, so the new Helloween live album is coming out soon, and I assume you have seen and listened to the final product. How would you describe the visual and sonic experience of United Alive in a nutshell?
Yeah, well, honestly, I haven't seen the finished product yet. I've seen bits and pieces to say yes or no, if it's good or bad, if we do have to overdo it here and there. But what I've seen was great. At least it looked great on my television. Sound was good, so I'm definitely satisfied. The finished product, I have to say, I have never seen because I'm on a remote island here on the Atlantic Ocean, so everything takes definitely a week or two longer until it finally arrives here.
Okay, yeah, I see. Yeah. But, well, of course, the tour was very long, over 14 months with 70 shows. And I wanted to ask you how the chemistry within the band and the new members, so to speak, evolved during the different legs of the tour.
Fortunately, it stayed cool. So even after for the first 3 or 4 months, there was no tour stress or something going on, and the chemistry just kept up. Maybe we partied a little bit too long here and there. The singers should actually say goodbye after a few hours and not stay until 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes we did. So yeah, it's great. Maybe too good sometimes, but I'm definitely looking forward for the next tour. So we always told the people, so if the tour went well, at the end of the day, the chemistry was great, then we're going to do even an album in that constellation, which we do now. So it'll be a lot of stress, I think, because we have like 2.5 singers now, and which means each and every one has to sing probably the whole album. And at the end of the day, we switch and swap and change. And at the end of the day, we will hopefully have a final solution: who sings what song, who sings together. And yeah, it's a challenge, but I'm looking forward to that, even though I know it'll be a lot of stress.
Yeah, and you had toured previously with Gamma Ray and shared the stage with Kai, but I wanted to ask you about the experience of sharing lead vocals with Michael Kiske, especially how did it feel to hear him singing parts of your songs, the songs that you have written and performed originally?
Well, it was quite challenging as well, because suddenly it's Michael singing my own songs and vice versa. So I learned to love certain things when he sang my songs. I thought, oh, that's great, because when it comes to songwriting, I now can write for Michael, not only for myself. So suddenly you think in different dimensions, which opens up. Like for the new upcoming album, we suddenly have the chance to bring in all the keeper stuff, which Michael sang so greatly, and mix it with the stuff we have nowadays. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I already have written 2 songs, especially for Michael. And yesterday arrived the first vocals from Michael on the songs I've written for him, and it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really glad to hear that. And what were the highlights of the tour for you? Of course, you did a lot of shows in big places, like Wacken was probably the biggest, but like, do you have on a personal level, what was the most special part of the tour or concert for you?
Well, for me, honestly, it was I think mainly the shows in Europe, which suddenly were so big. Normally we played in front of 2,000 or 3,000 people, and suddenly you had like 15,000, 18,000 people in the concert hall, which was fantastic. So playing on the biggest scale in Europe was a dream come true. Nevertheless, the whole world was actually freaking out. So even the US shows were great. So yeah, I mean, this was a dream come true for everybody. We always hoped for something like that, but you honestly should not accept or expect it the way it was. So it was much bigger than we anticipated. Yes, you mentioned Wacken. Wacken is always a highlight. So another dream come true, headlining Wacken for the first time in our lives was definitely wow. But overall, 14 months of wow, you could say. We started out in South America, and it was crazy, and it just went on being crazy.
Yeah. What about any critical points? I remember that Michael Kiske got sick in the beginning of the tour. Did you feel that this thing will turn into a chaos or something like that, or was there any other problems that you had to face?
Yeah, well, it was not an easy start for Michael. and there were even people who thought he's singing like completely playback, which wasn't the case because I was singing lots of stuff. Vice versa, when I got sick in Japan, for example, he was overtaking lots of lines of my singing and helped me out. So yeah, you realize, I mean, it's actually great being two singers on tour, because when one is like not feeling as good, then the other could jump in and help him as much as possible, which is great. So I would rather say that for the singers, it became much easier, even though there is like 2:45 or even 3-hour set. But because we share vocals, Michael and I don't have to sing longer than an hour 20 or something like that. It's not a walk in the park, but at the end of the day, 1 hour 20 is doable. It's not such a challenge as being on stage and singing a 2-hour show, for example, without interruptions, without breaks. So here you have always chance after 1 or 2 songs, go off stage, and then the other singer is singing, then he goes off stage and the other singer is singing again, blah, blah, blah. You know, at the end of the day, it's much, much, much easier.
Yeah, exactly. And like we discussed, I'm originally from Chile. You mentioned that in Europe you got to play in bigger venues, but also you did like in 2 parts of the tour you played in Chile. First 2 sold out shows in the smaller Teatro Caupolicán, but then you did the big Helloween night with Arch Enemy and Creator in Movistar Arena, which is a lot bigger venue, which is usually reserved for like really international massive acts, and like that was a big achievement from our point of view for a power metal band to play there. What do you think about that?
Well, that's something like being knighted, you know. So you always dream, like when you start to make music and you dream about having success and stuff like that. Yeah. There are always certain places and or festivals or concert halls you want to play, and you think, when I'm playing there, that would be like the prime of your life. That would be the occasion you're being knighted and you're being there where you ever dreamt of being. So this is actually this happened a lot of times. So the whole world tour was picked with like concert halls that you only may dream of playing once in your life, and we did them all now. Now for the next tour, even just for example, now for the next tour is even planned to play in Tokyo, the Budokan, which is for me the biggest challenge you can have as a band nowadays, playing Budokan in Tokyo. This is, how far can you climb? Because there's nothing over that. I mean, that's top notch. So this is definitely a dream come true, and everybody in the band, I'm speaking for everybody, I'm quite sure, is so grateful that we may have that after 30 years of career, which were always great. I mean, you had always packed clubs or mid-sized concert halls and great tours, but now playing the top concert halls and the top festivals, this is a dream come true. Wow. And yeah, what can I say? We are all very, very thankful.
Yeah, I'm very happy for you guys. And what about Finland? I attended your headlining show in Helsinki, then you play a summer festival in Kuopio, and where there were also Finnish hip-hop and pop artists. And how do you think Helloween show works for an audience where not everyone is a metalhead in an open-air festival, for example?
Well, there are a lot of people who later come backstage and say, well, we've never had a chance to watch a heavy metal show. And they've been completely knocked out. I mean, they definitely were suddenly metal fans, so to say. Because then again, there were a lot of hip-hop fans who tell me, yeah, nowadays hip-hop has so much influence from the metal scene. When you look at the rhythms and you don't have electric guitars, but then there are like synthesizers who are really hard in distortion. And sometimes I see a parallel world there growing up. Even though I have to admit I don't like hip-hop.
Yeah, me neither, but it's an interesting mix. So Spain seems to be a very special country for Helloween. You recorded most of High Life there in the 90s, and what made you choose now the Madrid show for the audio version of United Live?
Well, the first thing that came up in mind, we recorded like 6 or 7 shows, and what we wanted to avoid is record 1 or 2 particular shows completely and then go into the studio and turn a live album into a studio album. this is something we try to avoid. So what we try to do is pick out the best pieces of the recorded shows, and these pieces should be as good as that you don't have to do very much in the studio. So far, I know the biggest challenge was that the Sao Paulo show, there was as far as I remember, there was one kick drum not recorded. So you only listen to that kick drum in the room from the room microphones. But the microphone directly at the kick has not been working. So that was the biggest challenge, actually, to replace that. And this you can only do in the studio. But the rest of the guitars, vocals and shit, we did not have to do that much, actually. But this is because we only took out the best songs of certain concerts. And then you have a real life thing going on. I hate that challenge to go into the studio and really re-record a live album in the studio. That's not a live album anymore.
Yeah, because I had understood that the audio version is mostly from Spain, and then the DVD, Blu-ray is taken from different cities. That what the information that was published that it would be like maybe it's not like that, but what about like for the video version, or for what you mentioned that you took pieces from different countries? Was it hard to come to an agreement of which beats to choose, or were you was there someone in charge of choosing that?
Yeah, at the end of the day, this is management business, and they give us the suggestions, and we listen to it or watch it, and then the band is like bitching and this not, and here this is bullshit. I don't want this and don't want that. I mean, the typical stereotype behavior of a band. So at the end of the day, you just try to satisfy everybody, and there you go. You can imagine that this takes at least a month or two just to find all the bits and pieces that you would like to have on the video, that everybody is more or less satisfied. Honestly, I don't want to see myself on stage when I just pull out something of my nose, you know. So if there's footage, Andy with a finger in his nose, I would rather not have it in the video. So there you go. I don't like my face here, I don't like my expression there, and the same goes for all the boys. So it already sounds like a lot of work to find footage where everybody is happy with.
Yeah, exactly. So it was mostly like you just accepted or declined the bits and parts that were suggested. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, you always have to do compromises. Everybody knows when he's being filmed, or when you see a photograph of yourself. Sometimes you just don't like it. I mean, even your friends say it's cool, it's great, but you don't like it. I mean, why would you have to live with it if you don't like it? You know. So that's the challenge mainly. And when you finally have the footage where everybody goes like, yeah, okay, thumbs up, let's go with it. It's a good compromise. I can live with that. Then it comes to the audio side. Is the audio good enough, or do you have to do like bullshit in the studio to replace certain guitars, or did you fuck up your vocals here? Do you have to do it in the studio again? So at the end of the day, if it's too much work, you just look for another scene and another shot where you're still happy with, and where the audio is good. So there you go. I mean, it's like a big puzzle, and believe me, it's definitely 2 months of hard work to find the puzzle pieces that at the end of the day make up a good product.
Yeah, it's such a long show also. And you announced it that that the recording of the studio album would be postponed due to this Brazilian dates that you will replace Megadeth playing now in a couple of months. But how does this affect the schedule of the potential release date of the studio album?
Well, the release date itself probably will not be affected, because we have a lot of headroom and gave ourselves the freedom to even write more songs if necessary. Because as you know, I mean, you may have 30 songs on the table to choose from, and you find out it's maybe too trashy, or it's too speedy, or it's too poppy, or whatever. So at the end of the day, you have maybe 30 great songs on the table, but the mixture would not be right for an album. So maybe now you have to go back into your own studio and try just to bring up some good new songs in a certain style that you are missing. And this probably will not happen, because we already have tons of ideas, and it looks like a great mixture we already have. So I personally don't see the necessity to rewrite or go back in the studio and write. On the other hand, I do that by like hobby. I'm sitting up there in the living room in front of the television and always are diddling and fiddling with the guitar. So I don't see myself stopping writing songs because it's an automatic thing I always do. So probably in the next 2 or 3 months, I bring another 2, 3, 4, 5 songs. I don't know. That would be typical Andy. Speaking for the rest of the boys, probably as well. So there's always a good chance that you, in the middle of the night, have the idea and you stand up at 3 o'clock in the morning, stumble down into the studio and try to record your idea that you may sleep then. Because if you don't, you can't sleep anyway because the melody won't let you sleep. So that's the fate of a musician. When you have song ideas in your mind, you're not gonna sleep. It doesn't let you sleep. So you'd rather go down in the studio, record it, and then you may sleep.
Yeah, but do you have an idea? Is it coming in the first half of next year or like second half, more like a year from now?
Well, it is scheduled, and as I said, there's nothing rescheduled. I mean, it's still the same setup, same schedule, which says late summer next year.
Yeah. Cool. How do you see that? Well, you mentioned that you're preparing, well, you're thinking of a tour at least, but how do you see the future of the band beyond that, like album and new tour cycle? Or is it something that you're just going to reassess after that?
Step by step. As we mentioned to the people when we did the Pumpkins United, we thought it's a great idea. Let's see how it works out. That's what we said in the beginning. It turned out great. But we told everybody we are doing a tour, and when the tour is great and the chemistry, that's the most important thing, because I think we're really too old for that shit, that you go on stage with people you don't like. Why would you do that? I mean, we had a lot of success with the 5-piece Helloween without the old members. So now the old members are back, the success is there, but the main thing is the chemistry good? Honestly, I would not see... I definitely know that Michael, for example, Michael Kiske, he would never be with us on tour if he would not enjoy it. So this is, for me, the proof that the chemistry is really working greatly. And we're definitely very thankful for that. We enjoyed a lot of common adventures here, and everybody is happy with each other. So that's the main point. The chemistry is there. We like each other. Maybe sometimes even a bit too much, as I said, because when you're partying up to 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, it really damages the upcoming shows. But what can you do? I mean, if it's a great night, it's a great night. Everybody knows that. You just keep sitting and drinking. You should not do that too much, but that shows that chemistry is just right. And we take it from there. Then now the album is coming because the tour was great. And if this album, the studio work, is in the same vibe, that you like each other, that you're having a good time, that you're having lots of laugh, that's rock and roll, and then you keep going. If that would not be the case, then I would say we do that album, we will do another world tour and call it a day with the Pumpkins United. But if everything is going the way I expect, that the chemistry is still up and running, why shouldn't you do that for another few years or until the end of our days? I mean, if the setup is working, why not?
Yeah, exactly. And with such a vast catalog, there's plenty of room for changes in the set list, especially from the era with you as the lead singer. Are there any particular songs that you would like to include in the set list in the future?
Well, quite a few, yeah. I mean, from my time, I definitely would love to sing for the first time songs like Kill It, or with a song that I always love to sing, and we haven't played it for at least 12 years, is Kusch from the Better Than Raw. Well, there are so many songs actually to choose from. Hey Lord is always a great sing-along for the people. So from my area, there's definitely another 6-7 songs I really love to death that I would definitely like to sing on stage. But will it fit with the mixture of everything? I don't know. So yes, there will definitely be, I would reckon 50-60% of the next upcoming tour will completely will be completely changed, set up, new songs, and plus the must-play songs. As you know, there's always the demand that we will play like Future World, I Went Out, or Power. These songs have to be played, otherwise they probably will shoot you off stage. So there are certain songs you have to play, and we want to play them, we will play them. But I would reckon like 60% of everything you heard is definitely changed and different songs. A lot to choose from anyway, so we shouldn't have a problem there.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned a lot of songs from Better Than Raw, because that was something that I missed. At least I saw you in Wacken and in Helsinki, and I missed some songs from Better Than Raw, which is one of my favorite albums of Helloween all time, all like all lineups included. So I'm glad to hear that.
No, we definitely have to pick like the raisins of the others. I mean, the last tour was a great mixture, but you can only play 3 hours. I mean, more would be super tiring for the people. Not talking of the band. I mean, you have to see our drummer Dani. He has to play 3 hours. There's no second drummer. Or Marcus on the bass guitar. He is definitely 3 hours constantly playing guitar, great bass guitar. For the guitarists, they could easily say, "Oh, you know what? I'm feeling tired. I'm off." It's still enough to play a song with 2 guitars as it used to be. But for the bass and for the drums, they don't have any other chance than to fiddle 3 hours. So that's heavy. I mean, the drummer, Dami, sometimes, he really worried me sometimes, because backstage he was completely breaking down and needed ice and to get his muscles working again. And when you know you have another show tomorrow, then you're really, you feel definitely very, very sorry for that guy. But he did the job. I mean, however he does it, I don't know. He's a miracle. He always plays great, even if the last show was super demanding, and you really thought, okay, the next concert he can't play. No, he did play, and he played greatly. But as I say, I mean, this is something you always have to keep in the back of your mind. It's not as easy for the rest of the boys than it is for Michael and myself, you know.
Yeah, and maybe a little bit linked to that, and without wanting to be controversial, but since the reunion was announced, some people pointed out the fact that Roland Grapow and Kusch were not part of it. And did you discuss this thing at some point, or what are the reasons, or like, what's the state of your relationship with them?
Well, honestly, we never made a big secret out of it. They had to leave the band because they betrayed the band. This is sad, but that's the truth. And I would not like to stay on stage, to go on stage with some foul pumpkins, if you know what I mean. So these boys have proven to be not cool. And they really were starting intrigues and betrayed the bands back in the day. They had to leave because the trust was gone. And why would I invite foul vegetable onto stage? So I'm very sorry, because it hurt a lot, because Roland was, I suppose, he was a supposed friend of mine, and I really thought he is. And for me, it was like the world breaking apart when I realized that he betrayed the band, and he betrayed myself. So why would I invite people that had to leave the band because they were no good pumpkins?
Yeah, it's really sad to hear that, but I'm really glad to hear that, like, the ones who are touring now, the ones who are like recording this album now, you're still getting along very well and enjoying what you're doing. And I want to thank you, because this was a real gift for all the Helloween fans. I've been a Helloween fan since high school, and I never thought that I will see you guys together, although I love you seeing your era and your lineup with Helloween, but this was a dream come true for many fans. So I wanted to thank you on behalf of all the Helloween fans around the world.
Very much appreciated. Thank you very much. And the whole thing back to you people, because you made the dream come true for us as well, because we only hoped that we may join the generations, but you never know if it works out, or, you know, but it did. So suddenly you had my generation in the concert hall, you had my son's generation in the concert hall, and this is like a dream come true for everybody. So it looks like we all did the right thing.
Yeah, definitely. So I think I have my questions covered. I don't know if you want to add any message or just say hi to your fans.
Yeah, just say hello to all the big Pumpkin fans out there, and I'm definitely very much looking forward. I can't wait for the next tour because touring is always great. Now comes the boring studio time. It's always the same thing. You start out writing songs, which is your hobby, and you're really like into it, and then when you have a great idea, you feel your goose flesh coming up, and it's really fun. But then you have to take that very song that you just love and re-record it in the studio. Even every bit and piece and every atom is being double-checked, and then it becomes work. Then it really becomes work. That's the sad thing about it. I would love to be back in the 60s where you just walk in the studio and record it live. And that's it, Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, but I won't take more of your time. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and take care, and good luck with the future projects of Helloween.
Thank you very much. I hope to see you somewhere there in Finland or wherever.
Take care. Yeah, please come back. You're welcome here always. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Appreciate that.